it's not the Flex and KG show. It's not. I know Beth doesn't look like KG. I know that Sander doesn't look like KG. I don't look like KG. But it's not the Flex KG. KG is finishing off. He's in Hollywood, you know what I mean? When he can't be bothered with us anymore, he's out filming and stuff like that and making TV programs for Sky. So he's finishing that off. But yeah, big up to Xander and Beth coming through tonight. You guys good? Everyone good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, well, mate, knackered, but I'm well happy to be here.
Yeah, knackered. You don't look it, mate. You look bright. It's good. It's good.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you anyway.
But there's loads to get through tonight. And Pogba all or nothing. Pogba all or nothing. It's been a big topic today, guys. About Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville Monday Night Football. They were kind of discussing it. And Gary was kind of putting his, thoughts and feelings forward as to why, I suppose, Pogba should be playing or reasons why he's not, and looking at the midfield three. Jamie Carragher, obviously being a Liverpool supporter, but just in general, to be fair, not really being biased, just calling it how he sees it, is basically saying, mate, he's been here 4 years. How many excuses are you going to make? So I like this debate. I want to get into it. And also, we're going to talk about Ollie as well with some of the decisions he's making. We're going to talk about tomorrow's game. So smash a like on the video if you're new. Hit subscribe, obviously, as well for notifications if you are new. So let's get straight into it. Xander, give me your Paul Pogba lowdown. Like, if I was to say to you, Xander,
yeah,
what are you saying about Paul Pogba? Like, what are you going to say to me? Let's start like that.
Nice idea. Not as good as the idea is in reality. Extremely talented player. One talent unrivaled by many players. Obviously, the likes of Messi, but I think he's up there talent-wise with Kevin De Bruyne and all that sort of stuff. Because the balls that the guy can play, not his balls, the balls that he can play on the pitch, is just absolutely fantastic. And he's just got the ability like no one else really. But at Man United in the Premier League, where it's high intensity, high pressure. And you've got to keep the ball ticking in the position that he's currently playing at Manchester United. I think the idea is nicer than the actual reality of it. So as far as I'm concerned, we can get to the conclusion of it later. But I think there's other players that we can play in that position that would get more out of the team and for the team than Paul Pogba.
Beth, with what Xander's just saying there, can you agree with those points? Do you see anything tactically, the coaching, the players that we have around him? Do you see any of those aspects, or do you think it's on Pogba?
I mean, I completely agree with what Xander's just said. Like, everything that he said is kind of the way I'm thinking. The only way about it would be such a shame to let a player go and not get the best out of a player that is technically one of the best midfielders in the world. And it's like, the way he plays for France is very different from the way he plays for United. I mean, he plays amazing for France. I mean, he's played well for us before, but his inconsistency, I mean, it makes it hard to keep him in the team, because I do agree, like, you can put a different player in that position and it works better for the team. You've got to think, like, maybe he is better suited to a league such as, like, the Italian league, playing for Juventus, because it's not as high pressure, high press, high intensity. But then again, we tried him in the position he does play for France? Have we tried him on the left mid and tried to get the best out of him there? You've got to have the debate. Is he one of them players that you literally do change the whole team to try and get the best out of him? And even if we did that, would it get the best out of him? Because, I mean, we've seen him be brilliant, but we've never seen him consistently be brilliant. And I just don't know if it'll ever come.
Michael says the issue with Pogba is all of his best qualities require him to have a lot of the ball, and off the ball he offers almost nothing. I like that, Michael, because I do see both sides, and people will say it's fence sitting. I know what's going to happen here. I'm one of Paul Pogba's biggest fans, right? And I always advocate him. And I do see it as, well, who at Man United in the last however many years has been consistent? Rashford hasn't been consistent. Martial hasn't been consistent. Matic hasn't been consistent. Nobody has been consistent. Our managers ain't even been consistent. So I do understand the situation of, like, actually no one in the team on our setup is just not a consistent setup. Our transfer windows haven't been consistent. We ooze inconsistency in every department, our results, everything, our coaching. But for me, I think there's certain places where if you're going to play Pogba, I think it's a bigger risk than other areas. So for me, if you're playing him in front of our back four, as in just in front to protect him and say, Pogba, your primary job, which is it should never be to protect, because I don't think that's a primary attribute. And I think we need to find And I know Carragher was saying it's 4 years, mate. How long are you going to say it? But I'm like, we need to find his best position and then keep him there. But I understand that he doesn't do the basics right. So for me, I think we do need to find a system to get the best out of him. And I don't think we've managed to do that for any player. What are you saying, Xander?
I think it's actually funny. What Fabrizio Romano said in the summer was that if it wasn't for the coronavirus, that Paul Pogba would be here. Now, if you track back to the transfer window before the summer, we get Bruno Fernandes in. That's, I think, Paul Pogba is one of Paul Pogba's best position, a little bit further forward, I think, right, as opposed to slightly further back. Maybe him and Bruno Fernandes aren't the exact same player, but you get where you get what I'm saying in regards to Paul Pogba. I think plays better when he's playing further forward. So we got Bruno Fernandes in January when coronavirus wasn't really a thing. Of course, it was a thing in China, but it wasn't a thing in England, And so in that case, think big deals like the Pogba deal to Juventus deal going back there don't just happen overnight. They take months to deal with. So I'm thinking they were working on that Pogba deal to happen for the summer. We've got in Bruno, bed him in. He comes into the season. In the summer, Paul Pogba goes. Bruno's already been there for his half pre-season sort of thing, and he goes into this season ready. Coronavirus hits. Oh my God, we can't get rid of Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's a great player. If we leave him out, Solskjaer's thinking, if we leave him out, we've got this whole drama like you've seen with Donny van der Beek, but that situation on crack because Pogba's this massive name, right, and probably better ability than Van der Beek. So you've got that Van der Beek situation on crack. How do we get him in the team? Oh, God, we've got to try that Pogba-Bruno thing out. Oh, they've given that a go. Oh, it's not worked. Now you're seeing Pogba being benched a bit more. That's how I think it's panned out. And I think he will end up going because I don't think he's actually in the plans in his own head and in Man United's head. What came first, the chicken or the egg? So I think maybe the fact that he wasn't in his head, Manchester United weren't in his plans, meant that he wasn't in Manchester United plans. Do you know what I mean? So I think one way or another, he is planning to go, and I think that will happen. So I think you can forget trying to squeeze him into the side, mate. I think you bring him on and play him in the Champions League and just...
So hold on a minute. So Xander's saying like, listen, mate, I know this is a good topic and that, but he's gone in the summer.
I think so. I think if coronavirus isn't... Fabrizio Romano said it, and we all trust Fabrizio Romano, at least I do. So he said if coronavirus wasn't a thing, he would be a Juventus player now, right? Which makes me think that when coronavirus isn't a thing, he's going to be a Juventus player or somewhere else because he's clearly, his head's not at United in that case. So I as I said, I think I've said it on the United stand a couple of times, and I've said it when I've met people outside Old Trafford and stuff like that. I like the McTominay or Matic, along with Fred and Bruno or Van der Beek. I like that midfield. It gives us balance, and I like it, right? You've got that defensive rocky midfield with Matic. McTominay is sort of learning to do that a bit more. You've got the tenacious little, ball winner Baccarat, right, in Fred, right?
You just said ball winner Baccarat.
Yeah, you got him in Fred, and then you got Bruno or Van der Beek to create the chances. I like it. Anyway, I've been talking too much. Beth, any reactions to what I've said?
I mean, it's one of them. I get what you mean, as in he's going to be gone anyway, so what's the point of putting him in the plan? But when you've got him for a year, is it not best to try and get the best out of him before he goes and get the best out of him for our season? I mean, he's on good money. I mean, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Like, surely Ollie can get the best out of him if he plays the right formation. But I mean, do you change your whole team and your whole tactical stance just to get him in there? It's one of them. I feel like the reason why he can't play in that too is because he does give the ball away a lot in the final third. But then again, also, is it because we don't have that secure of a defence and a proper amazing CDM that can help him alongside that? I mean, a lot of the blame does go on Pogba, but we do have defensive frailties at the same time. So maybe if we did have a stronger defence, then maybe he could have more licence to be a bit freer. I mean, I'd like to see, like Gary, I think Gary Neville said, I'd like to see him on the left mid. But then what does that do to the rest of the team? It puts it just kind of the plans that he's put in place, and then it's just one of them. I don't think we can play the diamond to get him in. I
don't think we should accommodate our plans, and when I mean the manager's plans and formations and system to accommodate one individual player because we're not England. Do you know what I mean? In the England national team, you've only got a certain amount of players to deal with. Oh, everyone's shitting themselves. How are we going to get all these players into the same team? We're not that. We've got the choice of signing players who we want. Do you know what I mean? So I think Solskjaer clearly likes the 4-2-3-1, right? In which case, he's going to want a holding midfielder, a ball winner backerer, and then someone in front of them as well. And Pogba isn't part of that too. And we've got Bruno.
Sorry, one sec. There's a super chat that's going to time out if I don't kind of get it. And that is from Michael. He says, would we call Pogba inconsistent if strikers finished or assisted the chances when he came to the club? I do agree he has been inconsistent. I've got one just in there. Sorry, Michael. And Dane Grayson says, people keep bigging up his talent and potential. He's 27. Where is it? Sell him. Liverpool did it with Coutinho and bought Van Dijk and Alisson. Carry on, Xander.
So I was just basically going to say we shouldn't shift our system about to accommodate one player, and that Coutinho thing's been on my mind. Obviously, it's never the exact same circumstance, but you look at someone like Coutinho, man, he was one of the best players in the league. He really, like, if you were playing against Liverpool at the time, they weren't the Liverpool that they were now, but you always looked at Coutinho and thought, oh, Christ on a bike. Do you know what I mean? But they sold him because he didn't necessarily fit into their system. Yeah, he wanted to go, like Pogba, so it just didn't work. So I think if we to do that and get an overall midfield that might not be up to the ability of Paul Pogba, but it works in the right dynamic without him, you know? So that's where I stand on that. But
Faisal says, you guys do realise Bruno gives the ball away significantly more than Pogba, which is true because he's trying stuff, which is true.
What I want to say on that, I'm so sorry, I talk too much. But what I was going to say,
let someone else have a turn.
You guys can talk about this as well. But I also think with Pogba, if he was to play further forward, I don't mind him giving the ball away in that position. That's going to happen. Strikers miss shots, give the ball away because you're trying things that come out 2 out of 10 times, you know. But when you're playing in the deeper position, like Pogba has been doing for United, you've got to have that little bit more intelligence about you to think, hang on, I'm not going to try 37 step-overs here and rondo it about. I'm going to keep it ticking and keep it knocking about, pass it to my forward men who can actually create something, and then maybe support them at that point. But he doesn't do that. He dilly-dallies about with it at the halfway line. And how many times have we seen him give the ball away and they're coming out our defence?
Beth?
I mean, I'm there. When I'm watching it, I say to my dad, like, is the coaching staff not told him to do, because he keeps doing the same thing in the final third where he dilly-dallies around with it, and most of the time he does get tackled and you're scared because, like, they're on the attack than the other team, and that's the difference between Bruno and Pogba. Bruno does it in our attacking third, which I really don't mind because we've got a lot of time to win the ball back and get forward again. But Pogba usually does it on the high press. He can't cope with it. And I think in that midfield, you need people who are going to quick pass and get the ball down the pitch, not slow it up, and then everyone's back in the positions and they can press you. But yeah, if you told me, like, you can sell Paul Pogba and get a good chunk of money of it for him in the summer, then I would, based on his consistency and form that I've seen over the last few years, then I would do that. The only thing I was saying is for the season, it would be nice to get, like, the last bit out of Paul Pogba before he goes. But I just don't know whether it can happen, especially now. I mean, there's a massive battle in midfield for places, and I don't see him dislodging anyone at the moment unless he does go back into that holding midfield position. But then again, I don't think that's his best position, so it's really hard.
Adam says, I've been hearing about this talent and ability. Let's cut our losses, man. My man hasn't showed up just like his buddy Stormzy. So Adam's basically saying, yeah, like, make it happen. Like, get rid of him.
If Pogba went away to Juventus, whatever club, other than the Premier League, I think, like you see with France, mate, he'd go and smash it. So if he goes away, and when he goes away, because he's not going to retire at United, is he? He's just not going to do that. So when he goes away and does well, and inevitably does well, let's not go, oh my God, we should have kept him. Let's all not lose our heads, right? Because a player can, like Chris Smalling, a player can not quite work at United, but go away and do really well. And you then don't have to call for that player to be back and all. It's all a big mistake. Sometimes different circumstances suit different players differently, right? And so I think if he were to go away, he would do well. But that's just for him. I don't think it's right for him at United at the moment.
Buy-in says, I think Pogba is mentally checked out of the club. I can't defend him anymore. Half the problem was him and the other with the coaching. And look, this is what I wanted to bring in because I'm going to play devil's advocate. I can see that your views are quite strong on that and have gone a certain way and kind of the same with yours, Beth. But so from the other side of it, you've got a manager there who's putting Dan James in instead of a Van der Beek or whatever, picking a McTominay instead of a player like Paul Pogba. Would Pep Guardiola, right? When Man City were doing really well, they're still a great team. Gary Neville kind of touched on this as well. You had Fernandinho, then you've got a forward-thinking players of Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. So in our team, let's transfer that into a defensive-minded player, either Fred, McTominay, or Matic, which Matic, in my opinion, is the most defensive midfielder we have, right? And then 2 attacking-minded players in Bruno and Pogba. Is there not an argument that actually, if you had a different manager, let's say Pep had this team, would Pep be going, oh, man, mate, Greenwood ain't playing there, Rashford ain't playing there, Bruno ain't playing there, and Pogba ain't? Or would Pep Guardiola, Beth, be like, I'm a good manager, I know about systems, I know how to get the best players and pick my best team out of what I have to be the best team that I can make?
I think the second one, to be honest. I think if it was Pep Guardiola in charge, I don't think he'd play him in the holding role. I think he might play him on the left, but obviously you like Rashford's pace, and I don't think Rashford's ever going to be displaced from there, and he's not going to go to centre forward where we've got Martial, Greenwood, and Cavani there. So it might be the case of like favourites for Ollie and who he's going to get in which places, and he might just think, I'm not going to play Pogba here because I want these other players to play here long term. So what's the point of changing it if he's gonna go in the end anyway? But I think if it was Pep Guardiola, he probably would find a way to get him into that team based on Pogba's best position and where he can play the best. And you know what Pep's like, he rotates his squad all of the time. So I think maybe someone like Rashford for the games that you don't need that pace and like to take someone on, he might swap out Pogba in that role, or even Bruno maybe sometimes.
Ali that says, are we turning into Burnley defending against everyone? I personally want to see attacking football. Scott is average, wouldn't start at Newcastle. Sander, look, I know how much pro Ollie you are.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking you is how much of this is on Ollie? Because like if you've got a wealth of attacking players, and I know it's not FIFA, I always say it. You know me, I'm just putting it to you. You can't play everyone, but you do see other managers play their best players. You know, you don't see Klopp going, I ain't playing Thiago, I ain't playing Mane, I ain't playing Salah. Do you know what I mean?
Well, so, I think Leroy Sané is one of the best wingers in Europe, and I think Coutinho is one of the best attacking players in Europe as well. Got both Klopp and Pep got rid of them. Pep thought, and you could argue, oh yeah, but he was playing Sterling or whoever else it was instead of Sané, and they were smashing it. Yeah. Well, I would argue that McTominay and Fred are playing better than Pogba at the moment in that midfield, in that position. So as far as I'm concerned,
can they do what he can do though? So you're right in terms of they're doing their job better than him, but they can't do what Pogba can do if he is doing his job. So in terms of like creativity or the skill that Pogba would have or unlocking a defense, when we're not exactly tearing up trees, can you see the argument that's like, but you're playing a player in McTominay who, let's say, couldn't really lace Pogba's boots ability-wise, let's just say, yeah?
Yeah, you can't.
You're playing Fred, who's a run-arounder, in a Xander words. He's a run-arounder, a nick at the ankles kind of player, buzzing about. But you can't get the best out of a top-draw player like Paul Pogba. Like, can you see why people say that?
No, because... but what I'm saying,
oh my God.
But what I think is like it's not top trumps. You're not going, oh, he's got 20 ability, so therefore he's better. Like, do you know what I mean? He's not got 85 shooting, so therefore it works better in the midfield. It's about system. It's about a balance, right? And so yeah, Pogba's a better player than Fred. He is a better player, but performance-wise, on the pitch in that position, Fred's doing better. Now you could say to me, well, why is Ollie not playing in where Bruno's playing? Why is he not playing further forward in his actual position? Well, because Bruno Fernandes is playing there. He's one of the best players in the league, I think, right? And you can say, oh, well, why have we signed him then? Because Pogba was off to Juventus. That's how I see it. That's why, because Pogba was off to Juventus, coronavirus hits. I don't have to go through that whole loop again, right? But that's what I'm saying. And so people forget that. People get very selective. And I think Aidan was saying it the other day, like, oh, what mediocre players is Solskjaer made good? And look at Klopp, he's made all them lot good. Yeah, but people forget, man, how many players Klopp has signed. Look at Pep, man. He's had to sign, what, two keepers? Look at Loris Karius. He's signed loads, like centre-back after centre-back after centre-back, wing, full-backs, Ollie's only had one round of players, so to speak, you know? And so the mediocre players aren't even his yet. Like, they're not even his mediocre players yet, apart from Daniel James. So people get and it's the same, you can say the same thing about the Coutinho and the Leroy Sané thing. People forget what other managers do and actually get very like that, get very selective with how they look at other teams. So listen, he's got the best out of Marcus Rashford. He's getting the best out of Anthony Martial. He's getting the best out of Mason Greenwood and all these other players. Paul Pogba, not going to work at United. Coutinho, Sane, you get rid. Those teams have gone on being successful without him as well.
Adam Wells says, Pogba is one of the best midfielders in the world. Why get rid of him? This is on Ollie. Play Fred next to Pogba and everything works. Seville is a great example. We did play really well in that game. We need better coaching. No player has been consistent for United. Fair point. Dane Grayson says, no, Guardiola would have just spent 500 million on a centre-back, which, like you said, Xander, in that first season when he wanted to play the football he wanted at City and he had Clichy on one side, Sagna on one side, Di Michaelis, Joe Hart in goal. Give me 50 million for Walker. Give me 50 million for Stones. Give me 50 million for Navas. Got rid of him, who weren't good enough. Then another 50 million Ederson.
Give me 50 million for Bravo. Oh wait, he's not good enough. I'll have Ederson, please. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It always happens, man. You even look at the players that Klopp has signed. He's had a couple of rounder players as well. People just forget about it.
You've got to remember as well, Pogba's not just been here for when Ollie's been in charge. He's been here for like four years, is it? And through he's not been consistent for me, like consistently, like to the talent that everyone says he has for all of that time. So you can't just pin it on Ollie. It's not as if he's just suddenly gone inconsistent since Ollie's been in charge. I don't think he's ever matched his full ability for a consistent amount of time while he's been at United. I just don't think it's ever worked out. I mean, for me, I do think he's a box-to-box midfielder, and maybe we've not just got a strong enough defence and a strong enough CDM for him to play in our team.
In France, I know they've got a wealth of it's a whole different ball game. Or when he did play at Juventus, you got Marquise, you got Pirlo, you got Matuidi or Vidal, whatever. It's a different player. Exactly,
and I think maybe he's just not suited to the pace of the Premier League.
That's what I think.
He can't go with
this is I like that bit what you said there, Beth. That brings in this next bit, because when he was the lead, when we had that season before last, when that fan was going in at him at the end of the season, 18-19 it was, right? When we had that season and Pogba led in assists, chances created, goals scored, key shots, whatever you want. He led in all when the team was on its arse, right? Because that was a bad season. Ended up in Europa League, right? When we've looked at him and he's looked the part, it's like no one's saying it then. Like,
now, I see what you're saying.
Not good enough to play in this league.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, I'll let you answer, Beth.
Yeah, no, I agree with that to an extent. But then again, we did still end up in the Europa League and we didn't have the wealth of talent we have now in the midfield. So he kind of was like the main man in there. And now with the form of Bruno and like the better talents that we've got, I don't think he quite is the main man now. So he's kind of been pushed out a little bit and it's hard to get him into the right position again. I mean, you can't take away the fact he did lead on the assists and stuff like that. But did we go on to get into the Champions League? Did we win the title? No, we didn't. And that's what we should be pushing for. It's just one of them.
I think, I don't want to keep harping back to it, but I really think all of it goes down to the fact that he was off. And so we've brought Bruno in. Because if Bruno wasn't playing, Pogba would be playing that little bit higher. And in that case, I think he can do whatever he wants, because you give the ball away, we don't care, because you're trying something. And he's got the ability, he's got the finesse to little through ball here, little dink over the top there, spray it here, spray it left. Like, he's got that ability. No one's questioning that. So I think if Bruno wasn't there, he'd be playing in that position. But he's not. Bruno is here because Pogba was going to be off. So, yeah.
Janino says, what if we played a diamond with two up front, Fred holding, Van der Beek and Pogba alongside each other and Bruno at the front? Could that work? I mean, look, I liked the diamond when we changed into it against PSG. I really liked it. Look, you can't, just because it works in a 20-minute spell in one game, doesn't mean that should be your whole formation going forward. But if they were coached well enough, I honestly believe this year, I believe if you've got good players, intelligent players. Pogba's an intelligent football player. Van der Beek is an intelligent football player. Matic, Bruno, Fred. Yeah, McTominay, you could maybe bringing that into it. But if you've got good players, I think if you coach them to play a certain way, like look how many attack-minded players that Pep actually has. Look how many attack-minded players that say, I don't know, that Klopp actually has. But the system makes them play in a way that is conducive to them. Dane Grayson says, Sir Alex, let him go. That says enough for me. Zayn Miasi's in the house says, Xander, are you ready for Sunday? Party time. Banter of the North against banter of the South. Who will get the banter crown? Zayn, you're an Arsenal fan. You lot gave Thomas Partey walkout music by Doneo, right? And then you got pumped 1-0 at home against Leicester. Like, it's just only that can happen to Arsenal. So we'll see you Sunday, mate. We'll see you Sunday.
Yeah. But what I was going to say, Flex, what I was going to say was, yeah, you look at the wealth of talent that in the attacking positions that Pep has and Klopp to an extent as well. But he doesn't. They don't change their systems. Oh my God, I've got to get everyone in the same team. How many times you see Bernardo Silva on the bench, man? It always Sane. He didn't start. They weren't going, oh, let's play with 5 up front because we need to get them all in. Do you know what I mean? And that's what people are saying. People are trying to like shift it and create new position formations and all this sort of stuff to try and get Pogba, Van der Beek, everyone else involved. You got a bench for a reason, man. Like, do you know what I mean? You got a bench for a reason. So you're gonna play that. Ollie clearly wants to play 4-2-3-1. So let's play it.
I do.
Go on, sorry. Just quickly,
at least 2 out of the 3, Bruno, Van der Beek and Pogba, into that team somehow. I mean, the way we set up against Chelsea, I genuinely don't understand how not at least one more was on that game, because they have better talent and I think could play the same position to a
disagree.
level.
I agree to the extent of longevity-wise, Xander. Like, I'm not going to sit on the fence. Like I was saying, after we got absolutely battered against Spurs 6-1, you've got to revert back to some calm. Like you got to kind of forget dazzling football, forget scoring amazing goals, forget trying to create 15 chances a game. You need to get your confidence back, become compact, become resolute, and then give a platform to then build again. But it's not my long-term vision to have McTominay and say Matic and only one of Bruno, and then they have to play Dan James on the left because he runs and gets in position.
That's my plan,
That's not your plan.
It is. Let me tell you what my plan is. Yeah. Let me tell you, mate. Let me tell you.
Oh my God, we're going to hear Xander's plan.
No. You like a holding midfielder, McTominay. I know McTominay has actually. I think he's got aspirations.
He's not a holding midfielder. No, that's another thing.
All right, Matic. Let's say Matic then. Yeah. Let's say Matic. Yeah. You got a holding midfielder. A ball in the Baccarat, yeah, one of them, yeah, a little Fred, yeah, giant, someone who's tenacious, gives you a bit of balance. They're not always going to be bombing on. They've got a little bit of defensive mindedness, but they can win the ball back, keep it ticking, bang, they're keeping it playing. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got Bruno in front of them. People forget that before lockdown, we actually were smashing it before lockdown as well, and that was without Pogba, and that was with Matic and Fred and McTominay, whatever combination of them, and Bruno in there as well, right? It's only when Pogba started, well, we played well post-lockdown as well, but we were playing well before that as well, and I think that you have that midfield, create a little bit. Look at Liverpool's midfield, man. You know, they've not got 74 attacking midfielders in there. They've got, James Milner, Gini Wijnaldum. These are players with balance. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone has to be a number 10 or a defender. Do you know what I mean? You can have a little bit of balance like Fred. So I think with the Daniel James thing as well, that was cheeky by you, Flex. That was cheeky, mate.
It's not cheeky, mate. I'm saying what's happening. Ollie's picking him instead of...
No, he's not.
He's not picking Dan James instead of other players.
Oh, basically, whatever happened to Mason Greenwood, something happened to Mason Greenwood, yeah? Something actually happened to Mason Greenwood because he wasn't injured. I
agree with that.
So I think that he wasn't eligible to start against Chelsea or Newcastle, right? So then you look at Martial can't play in those games either. You're not going to play Agallo. So you've got to play Rashford up front. Who are you going to play on the wings? Daniel James. People say Donny van der Beek, but Donny van der Beek's not a winger, man. He's not a winger, is he?
He can play. If Mata can play out on that side, go on, Beth. Go on.
That's all I was
waiting.
That's what I was going to say on that point. If Mata can play the right mid position, because we don't have a right winger, why can't Donny van der Beek play that position?
If Dan James can play on the left, why can't Van der Beek? How? Like, Donny van. Let's just get. Let me just.
Pogba could even play on the left.
Hold on, exactly. Noisek says Pogba is an advanced midfielder. He had 8 goals and 5 assists in Ollie's first 10 games playing advanced in a 4-3-3. I remember he was playing on the left-hand side of a 3 and he was playing further up. Use him properly and get world-class. Bill Irringham says, where is KG? He's on a shoot right now, finishing off a program that he's working for on Sky. He'll be back next Tuesday. Guillermo says, I would disagree with Xander. Ollie was planning Pogba as the second holding midfielder, as had Pereira as the cam before Pogba got hurt. Bruno by didn't equal Pogba out. If you go by your logic. So he's basically saying, I think that we didn't just get Bruno because Pogba was going. He wanted him in addition to
It's
Pogba.
only a theory. It's only a theory.
100%. And Adewale says, Xander, the reason Liverpool midfield works is because their fullbacks get 20 plus assists a season between them. We need more creativity from midfield. So basically, the conversation's evolving into actually, yes, you can say Paul Pogba's been inconsistent, but if you had a difference in this position or this position, you'd get a difference in Paul Pogba. Did you get that? Okay, Xander for once was like, I'm this one out.
Just re-explain that. Re-explain that point.
Basically, what people are starting to say as the conversation's opening, especially with this last one here, Beth, is that if you had more quality, like Man United is supposed to in other areas, you wouldn't just highlight Paul Pogba, because Paul Pogba can only do so much. When Paul Pogba is not at it, it's always the Paul Pogba's this, Paul Pogba's that. But then when other players aren't at it, when other players aren't doing the business, or if we get better players in there, no one really says that. So what I'm saying is, do you think that more needs to be done in other areas? Luke Shaw hasn't got an assist in however many years. Wan-Bissaka's not great at going forward. You look at McTominay, he's still learning. He's not even a holding midfielder. You look at Matic, okay, he can't play every game. You look at the left wing right now, we've got Dan James starting. What's happening over there? So do you
I mean, definitely. I think if Pogba had a better quality of players, especially defensively, around him, I think you would see better out of him. But at the same time, if he's meant to be one of the best talents in the world, you can't keep saying, oh, he needs better players around him. He needs better players around him. I mean, I think it is right to highlight the fact he has been inconsistent and he's not lived up to expectations, regardless of anyone else around him. I mean, you hold the expectations so high because of how talented he is meant to be. I mean, no one's there going like, oh, Wan-Bissaka is like the best right back in the world, because no one's saying that. But with Pogba, like, people do say he's the best midfielder in the world, so your expectations are even higher. I mean, for me, I think if we had a better defence, then people wouldn't pick up on his inconsistency in the final third as much. But also, I do think the lack of attacking ability from our fullbacks costs us so much going forward. I mean, you see other teams and their fullbacks can like whip a crossing and like link up with the midfield, and you don't see that much from Wan-Bissaka and Shaw. I mean, Wan-Bissaka is a brilliant defensive right back, but it tends to drag our forward and wide players out, so you have nothing in the box. So you've always got to go the same route. I mean, I've seen a few times you've had Bruno on like the edge of the box or a different midfield player, and they don't actually pass it out to the fullbacks because they don't trust them. I mean, because they're not great going forward. I feel like if we could add attacking fullbacks into our game, we'd have so much more options going forward. You've had more pass options on for Pogba if he does play in the box to box role.
Shatanya says, don't think Fred is defensive minded but lacks ability to be an attacker. Pogba is an attacker but basically lacks in a defensive situation. The situation cries out for a proper CDM, an aggressive CDM. We can probably go into the ball because Fred isn't quite that. So Pogba plays a little forward. Sell him. It's more about a nuisance off the field than ability on the field. Look, we haven't even really gone into.
I mean, if you could inject Fred's energy into Matic, I mean, it'd be a great CDM. But I don't think we have an absolute top all-rounded CDM, and I do think that costs us sometimes with the team shape and the positions.
I want to say on Pogba's like quote unquote off the field antics. Part of me thinks, yeah, he's dancing and all this sort of stuff. But the other part of me, mate, I think that's well unfair as well, because
Thank you.
Flex passionate. One, he's entitled to dance and do that. He's having a good time. We're all talking about having a good time, right? So that's first of all. Not everyone has to be Graham Souness and thinking sit there and face the smacked arse. Do you know what I mean? You can have a good time, right? But second of all, he doesn't dance and do all that fanning about that much anymore, you know. Like he doesn't actually. He doesn't do that much of it. Like he's quite. I think the last time I saw him dancing was him in his brother's wedding or something like that. You know that one when Jotty clips it up into the old glory Man United thing. But other than that, he's not actually like fanning about that much. So
this is my thing though. Like, so what? Like that's what.
So what?
Even if Pogba was dancing every day on his Instagram. He likes to dance. And the thing what really annoys me is this, right? You see this whole like, he's flashy or he's like one of the biggest family men you can get. He don't even drink alcohol. He's Muslim. He don't go to clubs and be popping bottles and living this lifestyle. He's quite a quiet guy. Same with Martial and that. And I keep saying it. I saw Jordan Pickford on top of tables at the darts getting smashed. And the comments was, what a lad. What a geezer. All right, that's it.
Flex. Is that a race thing?
100%. It's a culture.
I think it's a foreign thing. I think the media goes absolutely in on foreign players. I mean, they continue to do it on Pogba. I mean, Souness loves it. Like, just because he's got that, that's the thing. Like, he's got that thing around him where people have been doing it for so long now that they love to criticise whatever he does off the field. For me, I couldn't care less what he does off the field unless he's saying he wants to move to Real Madrid. I think that was a bit disrespectful.
100%,
That's the only thing about Pogba that off the field frustrates me is that he does flirt with other clubs. That's the only thing. Anything else he could be doing, I genuinely couldn't care less. It's the same with Mason Greenwood. I mean, the slate that you get.
I just thought it was worth bringing up because as a white guy myself, it's very easy to tiptoe around these bloody issues and go like, I don't want to bring up the fact that it might be racism and that because, it's scary. Do you know what I mean?
This is what we do. We talk about things, 100%.
Yeah, I as a white guy, I've got to have the courage to go, nah, fuck that. It probably is racism, right? And let's have a chat about it because these are the important things in life. And so, that's why I wanted to ask you if it's a race thing or not because you're black, so you might have more of a idea.
I think. Hold on, let me get these super chats out of the way. Abhinav says, the DJ played because Ollie expected Chelsea to attack. Van der Beek doesn't have the pace to counter. Chelsea usually don't park the bus. It was a tactical decision. Yeah, but was it a tactical decision why he started against Newcastle then as well?
I mean, I agree with that, but you could see very early on that his pace wasn't going to be utilised throughout the entire game. And then after that, he offers nothing. So a Van der Beek or Pogba could offer more than Dan James does in that position. I could see that after 10 minutes of the game. So I do think, even though he was subbed at the 60th minute, I still think that was a bit late for me on that game.
Then you could see very, like you said, it was never going to work. I got to get this right. The wabba, the dabba, the wabba dabba do. To be fair, Dan James is a winger. Van der Beek is a midfielder. Yeah. If I, as a coach, would need a winger, I would play a winger, not a midfielder. See, okay, fine, fair enough. The wabba, the dabba, the wabba dabba do. Oh yeah, I've nailed that as well, by the way. Fair play. I hear what you're saying, right? But for me, it's about intelligence because Juan Mata's not a proper winger. Mason Greenwood's not a proper winger. Marcus Rashford's not a proper winger. So guess what? At Man United, we ain't playing no proper wingers. Dan James is the closest thing we have to a proper winger in terms of his positioning and because he's fast. But what I'm saying is in our system, we don't have proper wingers who get past their men, whip crosses in, and we score loads of goals like how Wolves do. We don't have it. So to be fair, I don't really agree with that point because for me, I'm saying, well, Van der Beek has played in a variety of positions for Holland and for Ajax. He's played in the Champions League semi-final. He went to Real Madrid away with Tadic and Ziyech and players like that and played them off the park. He was there. He played against Chelsea in the Champions League last year, scored, great performance. He can play from the left. He can play off the right because he's intelligent. So I don't get this whole thing of like, just because Van der Beek's a midfielder, he's not intelligent to play out there because he is.
No, I agree. Especially, are you going to start someone just because they're a winger, even though the offer, apart from pace, and his pace wasn't used, nothing else? I'd rather at least play someone there if you've not got any options that's going to create from the midfield. I mean, I don't even see Dan James getting past people on crossing it in. Like, I don't see it with him. But I know I've criticised him quite a lot. But that's the only point on that. I feel like there was basically no point in him being there at the Chelsea game. Yeah.
There's quite a few super chats here. Let me get through them, guys. Bill Ingram says, if you look at Bayern, every single one of those players are hard-working at defence, not one luxury player. We need everyone to be defensively secure. I agree with that. Everyone needs to do their job. This is to you, Beth. This is from Andil says, but Beth, you say Pogba is the best midfielder, means he must do everything, but 80 million Maguire needs Upamecano. I don't understand it. Hold that thought there, Beth. Noisik says, for people complaining about Pogba not being able to just play whatever position he's assigned, how would you feel about playing Sancho at right wing back in a 3-5-2? Basically saying, put your best players for the job in the best positions. Deepak says, really think Pogba and Matic deserve a much needed break. which they are getting. Maybe Ollie is doing a great job at managing his players, but for God's sake, put Maguire on the bench too. So it's about consistency, yeah, because we are seeing Ollie.
I mean, that's possible.
Out, and Shatanya says, yes, agree. He can do that, but compare him to right forward, Nadal, Tendulkar, or any greats, basically in tennis and cricket, respectively. They are good on the field and ensured they are good off it. So he should be good on the criticism that will be that much. I kind of get what you're saying. Basically, they're great advocates on and off the pitch, so Pogba should be. I think that's what.
I think he's a good advocate off the pitch as well. Like,
yeah, I don't think he does anything wrong.
Yeah, that's why I think it's probably just racism, innit? It was fucking dodgy.
It's not, look, Xander, back to the point of where you're saying, because I don't want to look, there's the whole playing the race card thing, or you put everything down to racism.
Oh,
look,
no, we don't.
I'm not, look, as a black person, I'm not stupid enough to think that anybody who criticizes Paul Pogba is racist.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Because that is categorically what it is not. Not everybody who thinks Paul Pogba's pony or Paul Pogba should be sold thinks he should be sold because he's black.
He's black. No.
Of course not. But whether it's Raheem Sterling, whether it's Leroy Sané, whether it's Martial, whether it's
Jesse Lingard at times.
Jesse Lingard, whether it's like what Beth said, foreign players. I think that's a very good point. I'm not naive to think that there aren't some people who don't like Paul Pogba because they don't like how he looks. They don't like how he sounds. They don't like how he dresses. And that is 100%. It's bigotry. A lot of it's bigotry in terms of they don't like something that's different to them. They don't, and some of it is racism. So for me, you got to take the rough with the smooth and you got to look at all of it. But
it's not everyone, is it? It's not everyone. But.
Some people, there are racist people out there. So of course there's going to be some people out there who go, I don't really like him, mate. Black guy. Don't. Of course there's people like that because that is the world that we live in. But there's also some people like what Beth said. It's like just the foreign players. They just get a rougher time. I don't see people call out Marcus Rashford when he's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Don't really happen.
What did Saeed say? Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it happens. So Beth, you was going to say something?
I was just going to say back on that point about Pogba being talent and then Maguire and Upamecano. What I meant by Pogba's talent, I meant by that is technically you can't take away from him. Gifted wise, he's probably one of the best midfielders in the world.
Yeah.
But my point is we're not seeing that from him in our system. So could we possibly get that out of him this season with a different formation? And with the Upamecano and Maguire thing, I've criticised Maguire a lot. I mean, I've not just even been like Maguire's like an amazing centre back. I've criticised Maguire when he needed criticising. And with the Upamecano thing, I did want Upamecano at the club. I did want us to buy him, but I wanted him there as a partner for Maguire at the time, not to replace him. I wanted him there as a partner to bring pace next to him.
M.A says exactly. Van der Beek, Mata, Bruno would have yielded so much more than James. That's our frustration. I'm Ollie in, but that selection was bad. One bad nut does not spoil the whole soup. Dan James is only good in open games. Xander, this is to you because I know, like I say, you're so pro Ollie. Does he do himself any favors with some of his team selections? Would you say in a criticism? Because I remember one person put in a super chat. Actually, I forgot to tell you. This was after you left the fan forum. Two other guests are on. People were still putting super chats like you there. And was like, has Xander got any criticisms of Ollie? That was one of the questions. So actually, it kind of feeds into what we're saying here. Do you think Ollie's doing himself the best amount of favors in how he's setting this team up?
I think, I agree with Van der Beek. You convinced me with that because originally I was like,
yes,
because before I was like, and I'm not too proud to say, actually, you're right, actually, you know what I mean? That's just life, isn't it? So, I think originally I was like, no, Daniel James should. Well, I don't want Daniel James to play, but he should play over Van der Beek in that position because he's the winger. But you convinced me in regards to that. But what I would say is, again, the grass is always greener. Like not, do you know what I mean? It's always greener though in some people's eyes. So if Van der Beek plays there, it has a dodgy game because he's not a left winger. People go, what's he playing him in the wrong position for? Like, do you know what I mean? It would happen. So I do have criticisms of Ollie at times. But I've got an agenda.
Yeah, you've got an agenda on the floor. Do you think that like he's doing the best by himself? Like,
Do you know what I think it is? I think if you're Ollie in and you do back Ollie, I mean, I back Ollie, but I can criticise him. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to ever criticise him. I mean, if he does play a team that you would think is different, you can criticise that without being like, Ollie out, he needs to be sacked. I mean, mistakes are made. He's not going to get it absolutely dead on every single week and please everyone's opinions. I mean, everyone's got a different opinion. But I do think about Ollie, I don't think he's going to be pressured into playing a team because everybody else wants to see that team. I think you've started to see him make the decisions now, especially continuing to leave Van der Beek out. I mean, he's each week, the team that he puts out, he's the team that he himself thinks is gonna win that match or get the. And I mean, I don't know if he thought that team was going to win the match against Chelsea. I think he thought it would be going in drawing at half time with that team, and he's going to pick the team that tactically works for his plan against the opposition. And I think we have to trust him in that. And you can criticise it. I mean, obviously we're allowed to criticise it. And no, he probably isn't doing himself any favours picking the technically less talented players. But if he gets the results, then everyone's going to applaud him. So it's kind of it's a win. It's a lose-lose situation in that respect. But yeah, I don't think he's doing himself favours, but I don't think he necessarily cares. I think he's going to go with a system that he thinks will win.
I think Mason Greenwood should have played over Daniel James because in my mind, like if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to play. But then again, we don't know the ins and outs of intricate situations like that. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
We don't know, so it's difficult to say. But.
Yeah. Ihab says, Flex, let me ask you this question. Who do you think are Man United's world-class players other than Pogba? I won't just take that question. I'll come to you guys with that. Well, should be quite short answers. I don't think we have got. But and John Wilson says, I'd imagine that he's targeted because he's one of the most active football players in world football on social media. That at times hasn't shown his true talent consistently. For United, he's an easy target. I do think he's a very easy target for sure. All right, Xander, I'll say with you, who's truly world class in our team other than Pogba? And I know I can't on form. Pogba's not world class, but we know he can be or is essentially. But who is?
It's difficult. It's like what do you define as world class really? What top 10 in the world?
Criteria is?
What top 10 in the world in their position?
No, not even necessarily. Just a world class player. Like you can put them into other teams. They'll make them better, or they play at the top level and they're effective. Consistency is a word that is associated with world class. So I'm talking about in our situation. The guy just said, who in our team is world class. I think
Rashford can be, and I think at times Rashford is, even though. It's so difficult. I will answer this question, but also what I want to say is you don't need a team full of world class players to be a great team. Like you don't need. So that's what I want to preface this with. But Rashford can go on and blitz it because if you look at what he's done so far and what he does at times now, still I think Martial, if he picked up a little bit of consistency, again I know consistency is, but I think he's got the ability to be up there. He's no doubt. I think his ability is potentially world class. And yeah, other than that, you're struggling really. I think Wan-Bissaka, because this sounds a bit mental, but I think he's one of the top right backs in the world, and I know he's got a lot of.
He is defensively.
Yeah, and he's a right back and defender, isn't he? So as far as I'm concerned, that's what I want. He's not a winger. If he was, I'd play him there. So he's a right back. I think he's probably a world class right back. But yeah.
Interesting, Beth. What are you saying?
I agree on the Wan-Bissaka point. I think if you're playing against a team that have great attacking talents, I mean, he's got to be a world-class right back in that form. I mean, I've not seen a defender one-on-one quite as good as him, like really. I think he's amazing. And I think he is world-class defensively. Again, I think Rashford has the capability to be world-class. People do forget, I'm not just playing the age card. He is 22 years old. I mean, and when he does finish his chances, I mean, and he can, on certain games, he can be unstoppable. So if he picks up his consistency and worked on his final decision-making, I think he could be world-class. I thought I'd get a lot of stick for this, but since you've said it, Xander, I'm going to say it as well. I do think Martial has the capabilities to be world-class. I mean, his feet are incredible. And when he's on form, he is unstoppable in that sense. If he could work on other aspects and find consistency, then he could be world-class. And at the moment, on current form, I think Bruno's...
Oh yeah, Bruno.
At least it's
I want to ask you guys a question as well. David De Gea?
He's a world class keeper because he's been there and done it, and he showed that he can produce world class ability and form because he was the best keeper in the world for about 3 years. So you have to put him into that bracket, but it's all down to form. These players aren't currently playing at a world class level. Pogba's not, Rashford's not, inconsistent. Martial, inconsistent. Defensively, yeah, but he can't sort his feet out. I want the whole package for me personally. David De Gea is still trying to convince us he can get back to something that resembles his old level.
I mean, just imagine if Wan-Bissaka could attack. Just imagine.
There you go. But the fact that exactly, but another thing, like, go on.
Also, imagine we had a right winger that would take the relief Wan-Bissaka.
Mason Greenwood. This is what I mean, though. Mason Greenwood's amazing, but he's not a right winger.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? But he's got 17 goals from there. So let me get these super chats out.
I was going to say as well, Mason Greenwood has the potential.
Yeah,
100% has the potential. Yeah. M.A says the selection might have cost us that win against Chelsea, but it also had a good locker room effect. Players will get the message. Your price tag means little. Perform if you want to play more. But look what I keep saying it back to Dan James. McTominay, he's not really performing great. Dan James ain't performing great. What message does that send? But I get it. You have to change things. But, pick your best players if available always who will win matches. Doesn't matter what position they have in their resume, I think it must be. Intelligent player will always win you matches. Dan is a red. Hope he does well. I like that. Like, I just think you pick the best players for the job. Like, you can't.
Pogba isn't one of them, is he? Pogba isn't one of them.
Pardon?
I wouldn't say you said pick your best players for the job. In the midfield that we've got at the moment with Bruno, Pogba isn't one of those, I don't think. Yeah, and I can see why, because the balance hasn't been there. But I think that's a system thing. I think there's got to be a way where they can find a way to happen. It's not our job. I haven't got a UEFA license, mate. Like, I get that. I'm a fan. Like, do you know what I mean? Blake the Third says, wonder who Blake the First and Second are. Like, just out of no. Anyway, big up Blake the Third. Don't know if it's a family thing. Says Mata doesn't always work on the right, which leads me to believe Van der Beek wouldn't always be great off the left. I think we play this system because we have no natural width, but I think Van der Beek will get a chance. Fair play, Blake. Mata doesn't always work. No player always works. Rashford don't always work on the left, and he's the best person we got for it. Martial don't always work up front. Bruno don't always work. You gotta give the ball away. Like, it's not saying it's definitely gonna always work. It's saying that I think it'll work better than playing Dan James, mate. I think that's what it's saying. Is Cavani a world-class player?
Has been, but he ain't played for like 9 months. So
we don't know if he's going to continue it. But
sorry, I just got excited. I got excited.
Yeah, no, but you're right, though. From like you said, Beth, from his past thing, you have to say yeah.
The thing is, though, with Ollie, like he genuinely probably thought he was going to get Sancho on the right wing.
Yeah,
and he's really wants to play. You can tell the 4-2-3-1 formation. The only thing about the 4-2-3-1 formation with the players we've got is, do we persist with that when we don't have very much width? That's the only thing. We don't have natural.
I think we do. I've always thought this, and again, I'm a fan, so I'm probably wrong because I've heard loads of coaches and that like top end, and they know a lot more about football than me. But coaches have always said like in the media, you've got to play to your players. But I've always thought, nah. Play the system that you want to play, and then eventually you'll fill in those positions with players that you want that can suit that, and then you'll have the system that you want to play and the players that you want to play. Because if you start accommodating other systems and doing all this, then you're never going to bring all the players that you want in at the same time. So you bring in one player here, one player there, and when you turn the switch and play the system that you actually want to play, and if you don't, and then you wait until you get all the players that you need and then start playing your system, they've not been playing that system for ages, so it takes a while at that point. I think just keep playing the system that you want to play and then fill in the holes as time goes on.
I agree with that in sense, but the only thing that on that is, do we have the players who can get the maximum out of that system? Do we have to, like, for our players, would they excel more in a different system and therefore play better? I mean, we're in the now. We can't just think when we do get these players, then we can play it. Like, in the now, are we going to excel that system? I don't know really without a proper right winger.
I agree with you. In the sense that our players now would be playing better in like a diamond, for example, because we've got loads of good attacking midfielders sort of thing. But I think Ollie's doing what you know, Ollie's listening to me. Right? He's watching the United States thinking, oh, bloody hell, this Sanders guy's got a point. Like, he's playing a system that he wants to play and going, well, listen, look, you know, I'm not playing a diamond. That's not what I want to do. You know, I played with wingers. I know Mason Greenwood isn't a winger, whatever. But I want to play with a bit of width, right? So I'm going to do that. Right, Mata's not good at that, so he's going to drift in. Glazers, have you seen this? Right, have you seen this? I want Sancho, get me in at least a right winger in January or in the summer. And then once he does, the rest of the team and the whole dynamics are used to that system, and then they can kick on.
I agree. I mean, the fact we've not had a right winger in God knows it is just a disgrace on the board, because what is Ollie meant to do? He's got the same predicament of we've got here. Like, who do you play in that position?
Well, it's not even just right wingers. If you actually think about it, as much as we love Rashford and he's doing well, he's not a proper left winger.
Yeah, but nor is...
So we haven't...
Not an out-and-out left winger, but I do think it's his best position.
It's his best position. I would argue that actually Rashford himself, I think he would prefer to be a striker.
He's not, though, is he?
But he's not. Like we've seen with back to goal and stuff like that. I mean, look, he did play well against PSG, but he was alongside Martial. But and he did play well against Newcastle. TJ Hogan says this team would look different with a right winger, a centre back, a central defensive midfielder, and should have got this in the summer. Not Harry Kane. I think it means Keane. Said these players will throw Ollie under the bus. Ollie needs to be ruthless and use subs earlier. Dan James needed to be off at 30 minutes.
That's a bit harsh.
Well, no, I actually think it's harsh. But my mate said, we should get on the United States. He's a good lad. But he was like, mate, I knew 1 second in was already too long for the substitution because it was just a wrong. Dan James wasn't going to be right, was he? Like,
there was one ball that went over the top where I think Reece James just came over and swept up nicely. I was like,
it was never going to work, was it? But then you look at Mourinho. I think it was in his one of his first league games at United, he brings Mata off at half-time or even just before half-time or whatever. Or I think he brought on Mata, then brought him back off again or something along those lines.
Yeah, he did.
And people are going, oh, God, he's the dressing room and all this sort of stuff. So, again, as I always say, fans always have this idea that the grass is always greener when actually a lot of the time it's not.
Yeah. Deepak coming towards the end of the show. Deepak says, I guess we should trust Ollie's system. Every match, Fred and McTominay are among the highest distance covered on the pitch. They are working hard, and Ollie is respecting that. Beth, you was going to say something?
I was just going to say that if Chelsea would have gone with a back four and we could have used the counter-attack, then we would have been speaking different about Dan James. It's just the fact Lampard did come out with a back five and shored up the defence that he didn't work. I mean, it's just one of them things. You can't really sub him off like that early. But I do agree that within 1 second into the game, even when I saw the team sheet, you just knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Best manager in the world, Frank Lampard, apparently.
Well, according to you, Ollie's the best manager in the world as well.
He's not the best manager in the world, but you don't have to be. I know you're taking bits, but on that, I think that's a good point. You can't. I always bite, man. I can't help but bite. But you don't have to be the best manager in the world to win the league. I don't think Roberto Mancini was best manager in the league, or do you know what I mean? Or one of them other tossers that play at manage City. You don't have to be the best manager in the world to win the league. You have to be the best player in the world to be a really good player. You actually don't. You just need to. James Milner, not the best player in the world, is he? But he's a really good player.
A good player, though.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? No, but he's not like, you wouldn't say James Milner's world class, would you? But he's really good for what they need. So that's what you can apply that to the manager position in it as well. Anyway, I know we're out of time.
I agree with that.
Can't force a square peg into a round hole. Our best bet is to load the front with the most intelligent players when we play against the low block. Against attacking teams, we can play McTominay, Dan James, Fred, etc. I mean, look, I do think, I think the more to battle this whole, we're struggling against low block teams and looking out of ideas, I think if you play the likes of a Dan James against these types of teams, he's only one-dimensional. I think Dan James just needs to look up, see green grass, see space to run into. That's how you're going to get the best out of him in the latter stages of a game at best. If you're asking him to travel with the ball for long distances, commit a man. How many times did he get into positions against...
I mean, even when he gets it, though, his final product is always off. So even if he is running into that space, I always think, is there anything going to come of it? Because usually his final decision is wrong.
Can he? So here's the thing, yeah? Can he get better? Can you learn that? Because from what I'm seeing at the moment, I'm thinking he's not got that football intelligence and his final ball's all off. He's basically 100-metre sprinter, right? So it is, isn't he? So can he get better? And if so, should we keep him or not? Beth and Flags.
I don't think Dan James can get to a level that will be good enough for consistent Premier League top football. Like, I think if he went to Leeds, I think Bielsa could make him a bit more effective within their system. But I think eventually there'd still be discrepancies in his game where it's like he just doesn't make the right decision often enough. I don't believe, to answer your question, me personally, I don't know what Beth thinks, I don't believe he can reach that level. Me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't.
I'm not sat here thinking, oh, I hope he doesn't. I hope he does. I hope he does improve. I hope he can become the player that, with his pace, he could have the potential to be. But the thing about him, he's not like ridiculously young anymore. He's had a season now, and he's had a lot of opportunities, and we're still seeing the same thing. Really, we've not really seen an improvement. I do think he needed to either go out on loan this season, or he did need to get sold, because if he's not doing it yet, is he ever gonna do it for him? And that's the only thing. I don't think you can throw him in now to a United team. It's
just because Ryan Giggs was talking about him, and he said, like, he just needs to, like, Ryan Giggs was talking about him when he's a brilliant player, he just needs to get that final product on it. So, which made me think, oh, well, Ryan Giggs clearly knows what he's talking about. So maybe that is something that you can learn. Do you know what I mean?
I don't see it. Yeah, I think there's certain elements that you can't teach. Like, for me personally, I don't think you can teach Bissaka feet. Like, you can't teach.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's like,
can you teach football intelligence?
Exactly. Like, you can improve it, but it has to be within the player first. Wan-Bissaka, can you teach someone how to defend like that and slide and be able to do this and do that? No, it's his ability. It's his natural raw athleticism. It's his natural, like, feeling that it's like he enjoys tackling. He loves it. So for me, you can't teach that.
The only thing I would say on that point is, I know Sterling was better than Dan James was now, but Pep did coach Sterling to be a
but the key thing is what you said there, Beth,
he was now.
He's got it. Like, he was at Liverpool. If James come through our youth ranks, would he have tore it up at any stage? Like Raheem Sterling came from QPR, went into the youth ranks at Liverpool. Brendan Rodgers gave him his debut. I saw him twist the shit out of company. Remember, like, there was a goal he scored at Anfield. I remember watching it, and he stopped, chopped back, stopped again, chopped back, slid it in. Dan James can do that in a million years. Yeah. Like, he just don't have it in him. So I think Pep brought out of Raheem Sterling what was waiting to be brought out. You just nurtured it in the right way. But I get what you're saying. Players
you're going to have the hope there. You've got to have the hope, but
on that, everyone gives Pep credit for getting it out of Sterling. Oh, but when it's Mason Greenwood and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Aiden doesn't think so.
Yeah, there you go.
Aiden doesn't think so.
Big up to Xander and Ace as well. We're going to get back on the show again. I know Xander loved it as well. That was wicked.
It's just, I was passionate anyway.
100%. Listen, we've come to the end of the show. Big up yourselves for coming on. Beth, got a game tomorrow. Give me a prediction.
I mean, I think it's going to be a tough game, possibly even tougher than PSG. They're going to press us high up the pitch, which we don't usually deal with quite well. But I mean, I'm gonna go with a 2-1 United. God, you've got to back United, haven't you?
We're winning the Champions League, man. We're that good. Might do. I think we're gonna win it. I think not the Champions League, but at least the final. But no, I think we'll win. I think we'll beat them tomorrow. I might be wrong. I usually am, but I think we will. And so this will get clipped up for tomorrow.
Score prediction.
2-0.
Okay. I'm going to go with a draw. I think it'll be a draw tomorrow. I've just got a feeling. I've got a weird feeling it's going to be a draw. So hopefully I'm wrong as well.
We only need 10 points. Anyway.
It wouldn't be the worst result.
No, exactly. Especially after getting an away win at PSG. But that would really feel like not good enough. But
we have got to go for it, though. Got to get the point.
100%. We have got to go for it, and hopefully we can get that done. You guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Smash a like on the video. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new. And we will see you for all the pre and post match stuff tomorrow. Peace.